Welcome back, my friends, to the Predictive Playbook. I'm your host, John Ryan. We had a little technical difficulties getting started on time, but hopefully the echo maybe you're not even hearing the echo, and it's just possibly a sign of older age on my part that I hear myself talking, which is never fun to hear myself talking. But welcome to the show, Tony and Rob, and we'll ask the chat room here shortly if there is a brutal echo or whether we can continue onward. So I'll keep an eye on the chat room here. But the focus of the show is going to be NBA. But I did want to just kind of gloss over real quickly the landscape in Major League Baseball right now with the trade deadline looming in on Friday. There's been some activity. The Phillies, as we talked about yesterday, Rob, that trade did not go through. And how in the world do you have a prospect that doesn't have a correct medical report is beyond me. But I guess things can happen in the aftermath of the COVID pandemic. But I found it interesting that that starting pitcher, Anderson, then goes to Seattle and was part of that deal for Graveman that we talked about. And I don't know if you saw how upset Graveman was, but I mean, he was pretty close to tears that Seattle was making this move. And for those that don't know, Seattle, when tied or losing going to the seventh, and then they go to Graveman, they're 6-1. So it is puzzling why they chose to part ways with the guy that was probably their best setup man that they had, I guess. You know, he was 28-2 when he pitched in games. So it is what it is. I guess they know what they're doing. That's why they're GMs, and I guess that's why I'm probably not. But any news that you guys heard today, and the people you talked to, or articles you read that suggest? I'll start with this: the Brizzo guys. You know, we got Rizzo and we got Bryant. Here's my take, and you can tear it apart. I think Rizzo stays. He's pretty much the captain of that team, and he's also the face of the franchise. And even though he's not really the captain by definition, he's the leader. But I have a gut feeling, and you can tell me I'm nuts, that because this trade for starting pitching failed with Philly, that they're going to go after Bryant, and that come Saturday, he's going to be a Philly. So tell me if I'm right or tell me I'm nuts. We'll start with Tony Mejia.
I'm not sure, man. It's the Cubs are what? The fire sale is Rizzo, Bryant, Contreras, and Baez,
and Kimbrel.
Okay. I mean, I think a couple of those guys will go. It's a guessing game. I would want Rizzo. I mean, I think he's a lefty first baseman. I would want Baez, even though he's got the hole in his swing sometimes when he's shooting for home runs all the time. But he's a shortstop. He's clutch. He's still young. Obviously, I would want Kimbrel, especially with the way bullpens are this season. And Contreras is a young catcher. So all those guys, have their attributes, and it's just a matter of what team wants to come in and grab them and give Chicago the assets that they want. So I honestly think it's a guessing game. What's the angle behind Philadelphia? Just the fact that they need a third baseman or something?
It actually, my idea was after the show yesterday. Tony Finn and Rob Veno, we were discussing Bryce Harper, his offensive numbers, his offensive production. Rob brought up a great point in Philly. When you get paid $380 million, and even if it's the wrong opinion by the media and the fan base that you're not delivering the goods, you get hammered. So he really hasn't had anybody protecting him in the lineup. So then it dawned on me that, wow, this would be a huge acquisition. He's in a contract year. The Phillies would not be renting him. They would actually make the trade, and with the maybe even have discussions now that they're going to sign him to multiple years as a Philly, and that this is not just a rental to get into the playoffs.
Are all these guys not buy now to own? No, why would you rent any of these guys? They all have tremendous upside, and you're likely to give up a king's ransom for any of them. You know, I don't know. And again, I mean, what's the obviously McCutcheon, I guess, is batting cleanup now.
Yeah, as surprising that is,
So
and he's doing a good job, but it's not a long term solution. I don't think.
so Bryan is the better fit because Hoskins is at first and he's
Yep.
decent. Okay, that's your rationale. All right, I get
Yep.
that. And obviously Real Muto's there and he's good. So you wouldn't want Contreras. I mean, again, like what makes Philly the choice for a Bryant? Like, do they have the assets for him?
Well, I think Rob Veno would be better suited to answer that question. I think they do. They have
Who
Real
are you giving me,
Muto, the
Rob?
catcher.
If you want if you want Chris
What's
Bryant,
that?
who you got?
Honest to God, Tony, I don't know what they can give him. I mean, they tried giving away a prospect that couldn't even pass a physical last night, so I don't know what they're going to do. But I will say this. If they want to make it happen, Bryce Harper and Chris Bryant are longtime friends from childhood in Las Vegas. They played ball together a long time. Bryce went over Chris Bryant's house and hit in the batting cage. And if you noticed, the last two games in this series, Bryce Harper is using Chris Bryant's bats. They showed it up close in his at-bat a couple of nights ago, the Chris Bryant signature. Chris Bryant probably shipped him a bunch of his bats, and Harper's been hitting the ball pretty well. So, I mean, there's a friendship connection there. If Philadelphia really wanted to make it happen, I'm just not so sure it puts them over the top, and I'm not so sure, better yet, to your point, Tony, what the Phillies intend on giving up in order to acquire Chris Bryant. He's not going to come cheap, either financially but the financial end, forget about the re-signing end next year. I think the Phillies can handle that. The trick is getting him here and having the personnel to get him there. It's not a minor league system that's overflowed with talent. You know, it's not the White Sox, it's not the Blue Jays, it's not any of those. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure they want to be in the hunt, and they've got an aggressive organization. And they know the Mets are going to be aggressive. God forbid the Mets end up with Chris Bryant, because that would be not good for the Phillies. But, yeah, I mean, your question's well taken. I don't know what they give up. I'm sure they don't want to chop into the starting lineup to start giving up people. And I don't even know if that's what the Cubs want back in return. The Cubs may want to have some young pieces to start, not a complete, overhaul, but fill in some spots for the future.
The one guy in the starting lineup that's young and pretty good is that Bomb kid, right?
Yeah, Alec Baum. Yep. And in
So
fact, Scott Kingery, but he's out for the rest of the year. So
That doesn't sound real promising, John, for Philly.
Well, I just pulled up the top 10 prospects of the Phillies, and I know they had a very good catcher. I couldn't remember his name. He's Double A. He's 22 years of age, and Rafael Marcan is his name. And I don't think he was one of the two players that was involved with the deal yesterday that fell through for Anderson. So I thought he would be a piece. And then they have a shortstop, Bryson Stott, who's their second-ranked farm system player. He's Double A also. ETA to the majors is 2022. And Marcan is 2021. So if they go to the expanded rosters, this kid, Rafael Marcan, probably gets called up. But they have Real Muto signed to a long-term contract, so I think that's why this catcher's an asset that they could use to make a trade work.
yeah, and what happens now, if you're the Cubs, that means in order for either of those two guys to play within the next 5 years, you have to trade Contreras or Baez, because otherwise that catcher and that shortstop aren't playing. So if the Cubs do move one or the other, you could obviously see a piece like that's major league close. 2022 is real close, right? So if Baez goes, you could see that being a part of the bargain. But I guess it depends on what the Cubs do. We got 3 days left here. Today's the 28th, so we got 3 days left here to see what other kind of shifting goes on. There was some shifting today, guys, real quick, somewhat more in Joe Rainieri's area than Tony's, I think. But Starling Marte to the Oakland A's. which is a big move for Oakland. Obviously, Ramon Laureano is a tremendous defensive center fielder. You see him in the highlights almost every single night, but he's not the bat. And he hits in a spot where you need a bat. So I think Marte, they're probably going to put Marte in left, I would think, and let Laureano remain in center. But Marte can go right into that top of that order immediately. And then Yimi Garcia, the closer for the Marlins. Talk about a team hammering down their bullpen needs immediately, right, John? This is what you alluded to earlier.
Yeah.
Tony Finn talked about, he wrote an article for WagerTalk, Tone, just in case, just to keep you up to speed on what we're talking about here. He wrote an article for WagerTalk. He does a baseball article every single week or 2 weeks, whatever. And in his opinion, Houston was a closer away from being crowned Major League Baseball champion this year, World Series king. Not only did they go get that last night in Kendall Graveman, for Abraham Toro, who promptly walked up for the Mariners and hit a home run against them. So now they get Yimi Garcia today as well. So Kendall Graveman and Yimi Garcia, two guys with closing experience within the last 24 hours. That's pretty aggressive moves out of the Houston Astros. So Oakland, this is all AL West, right? Oakland aggressive, probably feels Seattle on their heels as far as wild card spot is concerned. And then Houston to kind of shore up that bullpen, which may be their only weakness at this point in time. We'll see.
Yeah, the Marlins, I saw, I mean, they love their young starting pitching. I like the Jesus Luzardo move. Mm-hmm. He's had a rocky season, but he obviously has the stuff to be good. I saw that they're going to pay Marte's contract just to get Luzardo.
Yeah.
So they're paying the remainder of that deal. So very clearly, it's something that Miami was really interested in. And we'll just have to see how it works out for Oakland. Yeah, Marte's obviously solid, but he's had hasn't given them the return that they expected. Otherwise, they would be in a stronger position in the NL East.
His road the last couple years, guys, is crazy. Arizona signs him free agent, keeps him for about 6 months, and trades him to Miami. They didn't even keep him a full season. I believe Starling Marte, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe last year his wife died, and he took some time off from baseball. Obviously that would hit anybody hard. And hasn't been quite the same player since, but has shown some flashes this year. But Arizona, like I say, Arizona paid for him in free agency, got him, immediately got rid of him, got him to Miami, and he hasn't spent a long time in Miami either, and now he's with the Oakland A's, but it's a much better playoff-type environment to be with Oakland than it is rebuilding with the Diamondbacks or the Marlins, so maybe we'll see the best of Starling Marte, who now will be surrounded in a lineup by the two Mats, I would guess, Chapman and Olsen.
Yeah, I would think so, too.
Marte sandwiched in between.
That might be what they need. Yeah, that's not a. I think it's a pretty clever move. It's it's a Moneyball move for sure.
Yeah, it's not costly, especially when they're paying his contract.
Right.
Welcome to the show, Jesse.
Thanks. Yeah, where does that leave the Yankees, though? The Yankees really wanted Marte, and now they're
Bridesmaid.
In a battle with Oakland, and looks like Oakland has the leg up.
Yeah, because I
think they're going to ride Greg Allen and Lamar like they did last night. That's what they're doing. I mean, the Yankees are hard to watch, and I won plus money yesterday, and thank goodness because baseball's been atrocious of late. And just watching Zach Britton struggle with control. Obviously, Chapman did his job last night, but I mean that strength of that team is kind of backfiring on them. They'd be in a much better position, obviously, if they hadn't blown the Red Sox game in the Herman start. And, I guess it amplifies the pressure of doing well in this Tampa Bay series where they never do well at the drop to dictate whether you're a buyer or a seller, of coming days. But, the Yankees, obviously, Cashman's going to go for it. Otherwise, everybody gets fired. But, I'm not heartbroken that Marte's not there. We'll see what they come up with. But, I think it's just they're cursed this season. I mean, they hit into so many double plays. The bullpen that's been so good is been suspect. So we shall see.
And as bad as it looks, guys, they're 2.5 games out of the second wild card.
Yeah, which means they'll be buyers. They'll make a move.
Right. Yeah, too prideful over there. They're not going to do anything. But I think the key, back to Jesse's question, is that, if you can get Jesus Luzardo, that's probably more than the Yankees were willing to give up. That's a really talented left arm. And if there's one thing Miami knows, it's pitching, boy. I mean, somehow they just crank out pitcher after pitcher after pitcher. So we'll see. I think it's a good move for the A's because they're going for it now. It's a good move for the Mariners because they're always reconstructing down there until they get good enough to win. Then they reconstruct all over again. And for the Yanks, there's plenty left on the market for the Yanks. We'll just see which direction they go.
What about the Yankees going for, say, I don't know, who would they go for that makes sense from, not Rizzo, I guess, because they have Voit and expect Voit, but out of those Cubs, Chris Bryant, any chance of getting him?
Like we said to John, what are the Yankees? And the Yankees probably have a better farm system than the Phillies do, but it just seems like they never want to part with much. But we'll see if they do here. I think they're probably better equipped in the trade market to get Chris Bryant. But again, we'll see. When there's so many suitors for one guy and the leverage is so good for the seller that everybody else has to up the ante and throw in more chips to get somebody, I think the Chris Bryant thing, in all honesty, guys, goes way back to what we said in the beginning. Who can re-sign him for next year? Because you don't want Chris Bryant as a rental. Way too young, way too talented. I think he's played 6 positions this year. Plays everywhere, all over the field. So we'll see.
Javi Baez, and you move Glaber to third with Urshela being, they're already playing LeMahieu at first last night. So, I don't know, but I mean, if the Yankees want to make a move, they will. And they've got the assets. They always do.
Glaber's been rough defensively.
Yeah. No, that team is just they find ways to lose, and that's I fully expected them to blow that game last night.
I had my brother-in-law call me and say he's burning all his Yankee gear, so he's not too happy either.
One last question before we go to the NBA draft here. Scherzer, looks like, if you believe half of what we read here with the speculation, it looks like he's going National League West, either Dodgers, Giants, or Padres. And I was thinking that the Dodgers would be more interested in Kimbrel than a starting pitcher like Scherzer. But I'm interested to know what you guys think. We can start with Tony Mejia and go around the table. I looked at the financials. I don't think they can make both work.
Right.
But what would you think?
Well, I mean, both have the possibility to be issues because I don't think Bauer's going to come back. I don't think that the clubhouse wants him back. So now there's a hole in the rotation that wasn't there before. So you can say, all right, well, Max Scherzer's going to fill that hole, but obviously Kenley Jansen's in a really dark place, and that bullpen's struggling. The free play today for MLB, my first 5 was the Dodgers Giants, and I like the Dodgers to recover it in the first 5 innings with Buehler on the mound and DeSclafani struggling. But I wouldn't touch it all 9 because you don't know what you're going to get in that bullpen, and they're snake bit. So yeah, certainly Kimbrel could be that guy. But yeah, you're right. It's one or the other. But I could make a case for both. And then if you're the Giants and you want to go for broke, you put that guy, he's instantly your ace, no matter how well guys like Webb and DeSclafani have overachieved.
Rob Veno?
Yeah, just to get real quick to Tony's point about the Giants, Kevin Gossman has been lousy his last 2 starts either, and you wonder if things are starting to run out. The tank's running dry on him as well. We've talked about the Giants at length, right, and especially that top 3 in the rotation. These are guys who have never done it over the course of a 162-game season before, and now you're going to count on all 3 if you throw Alex Wood into that mix. So, yeah, if the Giants wanted to, the mentioning of the Giants brought up, it jogged a memory in my head that the Giants are somewhat in on Chris Bryant, closer to home, Las Vegas. Maybe Chris Bryant wants to be out west. We're not sure, but maybe they can be a player there. For the Padres, we've heard so much talk the last 2-3 days about Jose Barrios becoming a San Diego Padre, and we talked yesterday, John, about how the fact that the Padres staff would then be a 5-man staff created by trade, not a single homegrown starting pitcher if they were to get Barrios. They and the Dodgers were seemingly in a battle over him, too, depending upon which report you read yesterday. It was a little back and forth. Dodgers, Padres, Dodgers, Padres. Nothing happened yesterday. Nothing's happened today. The Twins may have had other people come to the table. Again, that's a guy that's going to bring a lot of suitors to the table, and we'll see who ends up winning that war. I don't know that Jose Barrios is a guy you necessarily want to overpay for. Max Scherzer, to his credit, if nothing else, if you're a team like the Dodgers and you're worried about Clayton Kershaw's window closing, then Max Scherzer, a guy with playoff and World Series experience, is a guy you'd probably look to more than Jose Barrios. But again, Scherzer's interesting. He waived his 10-5, but he also kept the ability to dictate where he goes. So, in other words, he said, go ahead and trade me, but just let me know where I'm going, and I'll tell you where I'm willing to go. And I haven't seen a list of where Max Scherzer is willing to go, but I'm sure any team in playoff contention would be on his list. So all three of those out west meet that requirement for sure.
Is Houston a player for Scherzer? Because, I mean, they've got obviously.
It could be.
Yeah, but all those guys are so young, like Valdez and Garcia. Wouldn't they want somebody to start right ahead of Greinke, take some pressure off him?
You would think so. When they won it, it was Garrett Cole and Greinke, right? They had a pretty good 1-2, an all-star 1-2. So maybe they try and recreate it. Houston, where farm system is concerned, I'm not sure how much they can give up for Scherzer. Washington, and Washington is selling off Trey Turner, right? So this is a team that's going into full, bringing the dynamite, we're blowing it up mode, which is, unlike Washington, but that's where they're at right now. Trey Turner actually said today that he will not play anywhere west of Chicago. You got to keep him in the eastern, not even Chicago, because he said eastern time zone were his exact words. Wants to stay in Eastern time zone, and he's not willing to play anything but shortstop. So if you already have a shortstop and you want Trey Turner, and you had entertained thoughts of maybe him moving over to second base for you, he won't do it. You'll have to move your shortstop to second base. Not that teams can't do that. The reason why I said Chicago is because when I was running this through my head, I thought maybe the White Sox, who have been in the market for a middle infielder ever since Nick Madrigal went down, I thought maybe they would make a play for Trey Turner. They've been linked to Eduardo Escobar from Arizona. So we'll see. It's certainly interesting with Scherzer, though. He could go a number of places and really be a difference maker.
Yeah, the experience alone would be good for any team. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Let's start talking about the NBA draft, because I know among the four of us, Tony Mejia definitely is getting geared up for this. I believe WagerTalk has a show tomorrow at 7:30 with both of you fellas and that Tony Finn guy, right?
That's right.
When just for the viewers and people who are watching this in archived fashion, when does that show start?
7:30, Rob?
I think we just got slacked by Chris. I think it's going to start 7:45. And we're going to go right in. I think Joe wants to go through the first 10 picks. Last year, I don't believe, Tone, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we stayed on live for picks last year. I think we got out of there as soon as the first pick was about to be announced. But this year, Joe wants to stay on live. Odds will be changing, obviously, as the first player is picked and then the second player is picked. This thing is so closely lumped together that it'll probably make for a good show. So that's going to be where we'll be tomorrow. Ski profit included in that. I don't want to leave ski out of this. So you see three of us here on the screen. Ski is the one you're missing. And then, of course, Joe will be hosting. And we're going to try and give you our best ideas on NBA draft prop bets. So we'll see, 7:45 Thursday night.
I'll have a full package up. I really wanted to do a 5% play on the NBA draft. I had it all loaded up because I was and the odds have just shifted so much in the last 6 hours since they've been widely available that it's going to be too hard to control. So I've got a 4% package up, and I'll have like 10 to 15 matchups. I'm going to pull a Nick Borman with what he does with his golf tomorrow with the NBA draft. I mean, I'm all over it because I was looking at all the various sites that have lots of action. Bet Rivers has 52 draft position players.
Wow.
That MGM has 45, 46. And then FanDuel and DraftKings a little more reserved, but they'll be up there. And then tomorrow, I think DraftKings has released some player matchups, but I'm sure we'll get a ton of those tomorrow as well. So yeah, I mean, feast on that stuff.
Yeah, I'm pulling up at MGM right now, just so we have it, and we certainly don't want you to give away your top draft. But it seems to me, looking at this, and I'm certainly no draft expert, but it seems like the top 5 picks are going to go kind of what everybody thinks, and then it could get interesting. Do you think there's going to be any, bombshells, in the top 5 picks, or is it all pretty much certain they're going to go the way they're going to go?
I mean, I think that's where the intrigue is because, who gets desperate in terms of we want a real superstar, and then a 3-way deal comes on where we're going to involve a number 1 pick and move down, and Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard move somewhere, and these GMs are in a real tight circle, and you can get very creative. I mean, at this point, Sam Presti with all his arsenal of picks and weapons. Troy Weaver, the Detroit GM, worked for him. That he was he's part of the Presti lineage. So this will be that for a bunch of these guys. Like the Rockets are trying to make a splash, and obviously they've dangled Eric Gordon, and he probably won't be there next year. But do they make a move to go up to number 1 because they really want Cunningham over Green? I don't know. There's a lot of smoke screens between 1 and 2 too.
What team do you want to feature? And by the way, Tony Finn, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Always a thrill to be here.
We just got done discussing your favorite buddy, Dave Roberts, and Jansen. So I'm sorry you missed that opportunity.
No, you're not sorry. You're not sorry because
to share your positive input on that team and the support that you provide them, which is a negative number.
Well, no, somebody has to listen. There has to be checks and balances. There is in my life, thank goodness. Or it would mostly be checks, bad ones.
Well, you had said that Dave Roberts and Jansen are pretty good friends.
Yeah, they sleep together. Are you kidding me?
Well,
Bert and Ernie style?
That's really the unknown here, but that's what sometimes you have to leave things to the imagination. But they're in bed together, there's no doubt about it.
Well, Bert and Ernie are not in bed together, that's the point.
Well, then I guess
I don't know these things. I don't even know who Bert is. I know Ernie. I don't know Bert.
Is this film that you studied that you know this, or is this just written text?
Film? What film?
About the relationship of the two.
Film? Huh?
I don't know. I'm just asking you.
I don't even know. I don't know who Bert is. I know who Ernie is.
Bert's his friend, the banana-looking guy.
Oh, that Ernie. Oh, that Bert.
Right.
I thought you were talking
they
about.
wear their nightcaps and they sleep next to
we were talking about
each other.
Ernie in the NBA draft. We all know who Ernie is. In the NBA.
Yeah,
There's only one Ernie ever.
That was
I didn't say
Bernie
Bernie
and
and Ernie. I said
Right.
Bert and Ernie.
It was Bernie and Ernie.
Oh, Bernie. Oh, Bernie. I know Bernie, too. I don't know Bert. Or is it doing Ernie? One of the three, I don't know. But I'm excited about getting to know him.
This is a big week, big transaction week, and NBA draft and MLB trade deadline. And,
yes, sir, it is. Yes, sir, it is.
This is not going to happen again, so enjoy it.
So in the NBA, which team do you want to I don't care who wants to start with a team they want to break down. Like I was thinking of doing Detroit because they're number 1 pick. And pretty obviously who they're going to take. So if we want to skip over the ones that are pretty certain and get into the ones that we could look up the betting odds on of doing X, Y, and Z, let's pick one and I'll look up the odds. So let's let Tony Mejia go first with a team.
Yeah, let's let Tony Mejia go first.
All right, I'll start with
Mejia.
I'll start with the Cavs, and I think they're going to end up with Evan Mobley. So, no mystery there. He's at, what did I see today? Hold on, as I have it written. Because I wrote, Evan Mobley is minus, what is it? Minus 250 to minus 225 to 250 to go number 3. And the only way he doesn't go number 3 is if, for some reason, the Rockets have found a taker, and because somebody wants to draft Mobley ahead of the Cavaliers at number 2, which is entirely possible. Evan Mobley in any other draft, I think, would be the number 1 pick, just because he's a 7-footer that at this point is a modern 7-footer. He can really switch out on screens. He can go out to the paint. And like, this is a Cavaliers team that's in flux. They want to extend Colin Sexton, but at the same time they're listening to offers for Colin Sexton. And Sexton and Darius Garland are a little redundant. And Kevin Love and Larry Nance Jr. are still there. And they drafted Isaac Okoro last season. So, like, lots of pieces, none of them great. Mobley would fit in well, and they want to extend Jared Allen. I think those two can coexist. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody moves up to 2 to get Mobley. I don't think that happens. So, that's my Cavaliers breakdown. And ultimately, I think Evan Mobley is their draft pick at number 3.
Well, it wouldn't be much of a show if we didn't talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. So who wants to tackle that one?
Trade scenarios. Ben Simmons will be talked about on every single program. Here's the most certainty. Every single program, every single network that covers the NBA draft will bring up Ben Simmons in a possible trade. I promise you. I don't think it's going to happen, but they're going to bring it up. It is certain as the sun comes up in the west.
Yeah, apparently Golden State wasn't offering near enough to ship Ben Simmons to Golden State.
What in the world? But he would never. I don't know that is Ben going to be happy playing the 5 or playing basically a wing that defends and rebounds? Is that what he's going to be happy doing? Because that's what he needs to be happy doing. So
I don't know him, but I would think that he would be. It'd be better than
he's
social media attacking you every single minute of every day you're awake.
Golden State. If you're Golden State, you have to include Andrew Wiggins in any Ben Simmons trade, because you're not trading Draymond, and then you can't have Ben Simmons, Draymond, and Andrew Wiggins on the same team. And then obviously asset-wise, they can't do it with just Wiseman and some picks. And then so from that standpoint, do you want Andrew Wiggins on the 76ers? Because again, now you have 2 non-shooters if you're Golden State, and that's not the desired effect.
Yeah.
Draymond can't shoot, and
if they're on the floor at the same time, Anthony, really, I mean,
and
if
they would be, obviously,
then give me the under.
Even with Curry and Thompson back, but yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, it's impossible for Golden State to offer enough, right? Because they have nowhere near the salary cap room to take on Ben Simmons. I mean, they're in trouble financially.
They're going to lose Oubre. I don't know what Oubre is against the cap right now, but I'm assuming Oubre doesn't want to be there, does he? From what I understand, he wants.
Well, his
to...
name has certainly been bandied about. I heard, about 3 weeks ago, him to Dallas. There's so many rumors. Who knows what's what?
I liked Oubre. I liked him in college. I liked him. He's a guy that can play. There's some question marks I have about him, but he's a kid. Damn, he's a kid. We talked about this yesterday. Give me $30 million when I'm 21, and I'm guaranteed. Here's a certainty for you. I wouldn't be here today. I'd be still in rehab 40 years later, or dead, one of the two.
Wiggins would be the number, Rob, because he's signed through 23. He makes $31 million next season and 33 plus in 23. So from salary standpoint, that's the guy. Oubre is going to be I believe a free agent. So
yes, right.
So I mean, he's not even in this equation. It would be a package
Yeah.
If they're going to go for Ben Simmons, and again, I don't think they will, but it would be a package involving Wiggins and Wiseman.
I mean, if Oubre chose, I think if Oubre chose, I think Golden State would offer him a contract. I believe they would. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they want to pay him. I don't think they can afford to pay him.
Yeah, I think he's a goner. The Knicks have been tied to him as somebody that really likes.
Well, that would be good because the Knicks need a lot of work. We need to get.
But, then you have two non-shooters on the wing there with Barrett and Oubre. So we shall see.
I trust Oubre to shoot. Let's put Oubre and Ben Simmons in a horse. I'll take Oubre.
Here's the deal, Tony Mejia. Here's the deal. John Ryan wants to talk about the Sixers, and Tony Finn wants to talk about Kansas, and that's what we want.
No, I don't want to talk about Kansas.
University of Kansas.
What's that?
University of Kansas.
I grew up in Lawrence. That's where I grew up. Sneaking into Allen Fieldhouse, watching Wilt Chamberlain. Well, maybe not Wilt, but JoJo White.
But to John's point real quick, John, that's why Philadelphia will say Golden State couldn't offer enough because they're not going to accept Andrew Wiggins for Ben Simmons. I read an article today that said that they wanted so much from San Antonio hung up the phone. Hey, you listen to talk radio here the last 2 days ever since Bradley Beal's name has come up, and they think they're getting Bradley Beal for Ben Simmons, and they probably have another dream coming because if that happens in this universe, it would be absolutely crazy. They're trying to work 3-team deals and a lot of things, including maybe Miami, including maybe Toronto. Tony, you're a lot closer to it than I am because all I have is hearsay. But, they're trying what they can according to whether it's manufactured by Philadelphia media or whether it's reality behind the scenes, I don't know. But I don't think they're getting Bradley Beal anytime soon here in Philadelphia. It would be great for them if they did to get rid of Simmons for Beal. But who's the new head coach in Washington, Tone?
Wes Unseld Jr., isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so defensive-minded Wes Unseld Jr., or not like Brooks? Not like
Brooks. You know what I think is going to happen in Washington, and I do think Beal is a goner, is a total blow-up. I think that the Lakers may be able to get Westbrook, or somebody might. I think that they'll entrust Wes Unseld Jr., I think they gave him 4 years, and say, hey, we're going to stink. You're going to rebuild under with Rui Hachimura, draft picks, and whatever we get here, and Beal will luckily get to play for a contender, which would be good for him. But I don't know who. And at this time of year, and I'll tell you this out of experience, you have to trust who you're listening to because everybody's on the phone, everybody's trading rumors for rumors. What did you hear? What did you hear? And what did I hear? Well, I heard something that's false, but I'll tell it to you anyway, in exchange for your rumor. I saw that Toronto Raptors report about Ben Simmons, which was, all right, well, the Raptors hung up the phone because Morey wanted OG Anunoby, who else? Anunoby, not Siakam, because he wasn't part of it.
Lowry?
No, Lowry's a free agent. It was Anunoby. It might have been Van Vliet and maybe Chris Boucher, something like that. Mm-hmm. Like it was entirely too much. And again, like at this point, all these people are throwing rumors to the wall, and GMs play them like a fiddle, and I've been played like a fiddle. Like you want to talk to them, you want their information, they're trading for your information and deciphering. Well, somebody's telling him bullshit, so. Right. That is what it is. And then they're keeping their true sentiment to the vest because it's all poker right now. It's the ultimate poker game, the NBA draft week.
Hold, let me ask you this. Is this what happened? Can Orlando trade their number 5 overall and move up in the draft to disrupt this whole thing? Or they got the 5 and the 8 overall. I don't think they're going to use both those.
They might. It's just a matter of whether. I mean, they've already traded their 2 big bargaining chips in Vucevic and Fournier.
Right. Well, that's how they got the number 8. So
right now, look, if I'm an opposing GM and I want something on the Magic roster, it's certainly not Markelle Fultz or Jonathan Isaac, who have both been injured.
Yes.
It's Gary Harris and his $20 million expiring contract. It's
it could be the number 5. It could be the number 5 and a draft pick next year.
Yeah, 5 of the 8.
Right.
5 of the 8. Harris's contract, and then maybe a Wendell Carter, who they just acquired, who has some upside and is still on his rookie deal. So do they have the weapons to do something?
Yeah.
Potentially. Is that enough to move the needle and move out of a 1 and 2 when trading down to 5? Even if it is 5, you're essentially sending an Evan Mobley, Jalen Green type, and settling for Scotty Barnes. Well, I like Scotty Barnes, but again, a lot of people think this is a 4-player draft. So,
well, I guess my question was: is there other teams that are capable of disrupting one of the top 3 picks, which means stealing that pick or wanting it desperately and basically selling, buying high and giving stuff away to get that pick? Is there a team? Is there an organization that could or would want to do that? And would one of the top 3 teams or one of the organizations that have the top 3 picks be willing? Are they open to such? That's what I've been kind of looking for, something to disrupt this thing, because I think what you said, Tony, is accurate. I don't see this last year. If you remember, I thought there would be an upset in the top 3, and really there wasn't. So it went as according to plan. And I thought maybe it might have been shifted around and it didn't happen. So maybe I'm trying to make up for lying last year.
To me, the number one answer is always Oklahoma City, because they have so many assets. Presti's willing to listen to anything. The rumor out there was they offered Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and 6 for 1, and were turned down. I don't know how you turn that down if you're Troy Weaver, and so I don't believe the rumor.
Right.
But again, it's one of those things where he has so many assets, including the young players, the Baisleys, the Pokashevskis, the guys that are like, oh, you raise an eyebrow and say that's pretty good to have for the next couple of years, and I don't have to pay them.
Well, Tony, there are several teams that have multiple picks in the first round, and I'm one of those. I'm one of those that never. I just don't believe. I think that with looking at the cap space or looking at certain teams that I thought that had the multiple picks, I'm just not certain that they want to have both those picks and have to not that the rookie contracts can cripple a team per se, but I just didn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, you only have so many roster spots,
Yeah, Golden State won't pick 2 players, even though they have 2 picks.
I agree.
Houston's got 3.
I know.
Houston's got 3, but they're in a different spot, though.
They are. They have nobody on the team right now.
Yeah. They're in a different spot. But, I'm in agreement that and even still, you don't want 3 rookies on your team if you're Houston. So, and they've got, the 22nd and 23rd, I think, or 23rd and 24th. Yeah, 23rd and 24th, in addition to number 2. So, either that or there's a draft and stash potential. And you know what? I'll give one of my plays away. Maybe I'll wait till later. But it's tied to draft and stashes with a prop that I saw today, which I considered for a very high thing. So whoever's watching is going to be lucky, because I'm going to include it in my client stuff.
Yeah, because those European players are always drafted in the first round and then just held back for a couple of years. So
you want me just to say it now? Because
commonplace.
I'll say it now for the conversation's place, and I'll reiterate it later. I saw a prop, and it's an overseas thing, one of the bet onlines. So, which means we'll see it on this end at some point. They'll get around to placing it. Is the over/under on non-NCAA players selected in this first round, and the number that I saw was 5. Well, you're getting Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga in the top 7. You're getting Are you
sure? You sure Kuminga? Are you sure Kuminga goes in the top 6 or 7? Are you positive?
7 or 8.
All right.
Definitely.
I'm one of those that I'm not certain. I'm not certain. I'm just not certain of that. But then that's just me. So
he's so young, and he's got so much upside. And there were some bad habits that he showed in that G League Ignite team. But at the same time, like, people thought that he might be the number 1 pick when that first started, because he was outshining Green. And then he is a ball stopper. But again, the kid's 18 years old. And he's got a lot of versatile forward. He's got a lot to like. And in this draft, I think he'll be a top 7, top 8 pick. Then you've got the Turkish kid Alperen Sengun. Yeah. He's got a green room invite. He'll be top 10 potentially. He may slip towards the back end of the lottery, but he'll be a lottery pick. The Australian guard Josh Giddey didn't make the Olympic team, but he was on the Australian team that beat the United States. Yeah, I mean he looked solid, and people got a chance to see him before he got cut when the Aussies beat the United States in Vegas. So he'll be a top 15 pick. And the Spanish forward who's on the Olympic team right now, Usman Garuba, that guy was guarding Kevin Durant. So and holding his own. So he'll be a top 20 pick.
I'll save all that. I'll save most of that for tomorrow then, because there's names like you do a lot more than this than I do, but what I have done is when I talk to people, I was asking one question and who they think is going to be the weird, the unique or the wildest pick. And I hear names. Listen, I hear names like Scotty Barnes and Jalen Johnson and Keon Johnson, Moses Moody, all those guys going earlier than projected. So if that's the case, then who dropped? Somebody's got to drop out. And that's what I was wondering about Jalen Kuminga. And I didn't see any props about where Kuminga would go, but I'm going to look at those. And I'll run them by you. But
I'm sure John's got the five. But just to wrap up my point, so that's 5 right there, and the number is 5. So we talked about a draft and stash with the teams that don't want to clutter their roster. You've got options. You've got the other G League Ignite guys, Deshaun Nix, who was, really highly regarded, kind of slipped a little bit, underwhelming, but so young. Again, you can develop that guy. Isaiah Todd, the forward. 5-star. He's an option. You've got Rokas Jokubaitis from Lithuania. I've seen his name in the 40s, but he could slip in the 30s, in the pick 30 or late 29. And then you've got the 2020 West Coast Conference Player of the Year, Filip Petrusev, who
how about Mitchell?
He left from no, but I'm just talking about guys that.
Yeah, I know. I'm curious
just talking about guys that are non-NCAA.
Okay. I'm sorry. Right. Okay.
So, and he went over to Serbia and won everything.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he's considered NCAA anymore, even though he played at Gonzaga for 2 years. So you've got all those guys. If you see that prop tomorrow, 5.5, you got to bite.
Go ahead.
First round. And back to John's point originally, and then I keep looking down here at Jesse, so I'm going to shut up and let Jesse talk. But real quick, John, when you said intrigue starts at 5, intrigue here starts at 2, because nobody's even sure if it's going to be Mobley or Green at 2 at this point. Obviously, a lot of posturing back and forth into what Tony said before. Who's going to be the surprise pick, or who's going to be the guy who moves up or moves down? These guys, from where the mock drafts list them, it would seem to me that any of these guys from 2 through 8, through 9, could end up being 1 or 2 higher at some point. I mean, Scotty Barnes, some at 5, some at 6. Kuminga, some at 5, some at 6. It just, you guys rotating 1 spot or 2. So trying to predict exact order, I think, is really difficult here. And perhaps
if we can do that, we can make a couple bucks.
Well, there's a couple of long shots out there that I was looking at today, and a lot of them include, if you really, really believe, and you have to really, really believe that that Houston would take Jalen Suggs at 2, and then all of a sudden the numbers go up tremendously if you think that can happen. So I don't exactly know where Houston's head is at. To me, to me, a lot of these guys are interchangeable. Anyway, Presti is the wild card here because Oklahoma City has draft picks until 2026. So many of them that, you can't count them at this point in time if they really want to make a move for somebody. I don't know why they would want to trade SGA, though, Tone. That's out of the question. That's the one guy you want to keep.
I agree. One last point from me, just to respond to Tony. Listen to this. Okay. I wrote this morning. FanDuel lists the first 4 in exact order prop as Cunningham, Green, Mobley, Suggs at -138. That number is now -180 something.
That I know that's silly. I wouldn't. I don't think I would. No, it's silly. Meaning, I don't think I would buy into 180 minus 180 on that. But it speaks to something that's different than last year's draft. I don't remember. I remember us having a lot of questions about the number 3, those first 3, who we all believed to some degree were interchangeable.
Yeah, and the argument against the exact order prop, it's something Rob touched on. You don't know at number 2 if somebody goes in there and says, you know what, I really want Mobley, and I think Green's not the guy. I think if it's Houston, Green's the guy. And then as far as Orlando and Scotty Barnes, the betting markets really think that Scotty Barnes is going 5 because he's at minus 250, I think, everywhere.
Yeah.
That's either knowledge or it's either knowledge or the power of mock drafts. I mean, the power of mock drafts is huge.
It is, especially when you have John Hollinger doing one, and he's been in the Memphis front office before he took the Athletic job, so he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about, and he came out with his thing. I think he's influencing numbers. Jesse, what do you got? Because you look like you just read the bet.
Listen, you guys quit talking so much, Jesse.
Well, I want to ask you guys what you think about Cade Cunningham. If you think he's honestly going to come out of this as the best player in this draft when we review it 3 or 4 years from now. And I mean, you see the history of the draft. It seems like you got a better than 50% chance that the number 1 overall pick doesn't turn out to be the best player.
Right.
And when I see something like Oklahoma City offering SGA and to move down to 5th, for them not to take that, it seems like I'd take that in a heartbeat. And I'm not convinced on Cade Cunningham or really any of the top 5 this year.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to say that you're going to give me Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the number 6 pick for the number 1 pick, I'll do that in a heartbeat, and that's why I don't buy that rumor. I just don't. Sam Presti is too smart for that. But to answer your question on Cunningham, I think a lot of people were underwhelmed by his freshman season, which is not fair because, Oklahoma State had a lot of talent, but they were punching up, up weight classes. And he did fairly well. He struggled at times, and he was one of those players that let the game come to him and didn't go out there and do ridiculous things like score 35 and get 15 assists. But he did have some games where you saw it, and I think that's what people project. He's going to be bigger. He's going to be a 6'8" Penny Hardaway type guard who could potentially really shoot and be a smart guard that can fit in next to a regular point guard. So do I think he's the best guard in the best prospect in this class right now? Yes. Will I say that he's going to be the best player 5 years from now? No, absolutely not. I don't know that he won't be, but certainly I could buy Suggs really being a stud. I could buy Evan Mobley being the number 1 pick that everybody let go, and certainly Jalen Green's impressive.
It's interesting.
That's a good question, Jesse. That's a great question.
I'll give it to you from an Oklahoma
Detroit,
State.
I think they should trade the number 1 pick, really. I think that that's the best way to get value out of it.
And I'll say this, Jesse, to that point with Oklahoma City wanting to make that deal, that could be something to fill in. And not that they have a lot of trouble filling seats in that place because they really do like their team, but bringing the Oklahoma State kid into Oklahoma City would maybe help seats. Maybe that's part of Presti's thinking, but I'm with Tony. I don't know how you do that. Gilgeous-Alexander is the core of that team going forward. So young. I'll say this, having a real close friend of mine who's an Oklahoma State alum who follows it like a hawk, the concerns here are, and I'll compare, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to compare Cade Cunningham and how he'll enter the NBA the way that once Michael Porter Jr. got healthy, he entered the NBA, and that is that the concerns here are that he'll get pushed around, not the talent level. Michael Porter Jr. has all the talent in the world. He shows it to you every single night on the floor. But even still, in his second playoff go-round, when defenses wanted to get up on him, his point production all of a sudden went down. It's still not tough enough, and I think coming out of college, 1 year out. It might be Cunningham's concerns first couple. Now, we just heard Tony say that, obviously these organizations want to build him up. They're going to get him in the weight room. They want him to be bigger. He's going to take a lot of physical punishment in an 82-game season, which they're going back to next year. So I don't know that he'll be all that first year round, but I do think the all-around skill level, especially when you look at some of these kids in the top 5, they can't shoot the basketball. What does Ski Profit always tell us? He likes shooters. I'm with him. I like shooters. Jalen Green is not really a shooter yet. Not that he can't develop. Obviously, Kuminga's not a shooter yet. He could develop. Evan Mobley may fall into the same boat of the physicalness of the NBA. I heard somebody say that he's going to be a stretch 4. Well, if he's a stretch 4, then, again, that's all right, too. But I don't know that I want to draft Evan Mobley to have him fading away and playing so far away from the basket, so I don't know how true that is. But where Cade Cunningham's concerned and all the tools in the toolbox, I think he's got more than anybody else here. I think he's probably the best talent. I just don't know if he's ready for NBA right now. Like I say, the guy I know who follows them so closely, 20 games into last season, was saying that, Cunningham just isn't physically tough enough right now. So even their own fan base had some concerns about him physically. Other than that, he's probably your number 1 pick.
Max on record is asking about James Bouknight, right, John?
Yeah. Yep. I'll put him back on here.
All right. Well,
Max on record
let me say that on my mock draft, I have James Bouknight going 8th. So I don't know if that's what he's saying 8th plus 195 about. But at the same time, that's like throwing darts, because the top 6 would have to include Kuminga at 6, and Golden State would have to pass on Bouknight for Moses Moody or Franz Wagner. And then the Magic, if they take Scotty Barnes at 5, considering that they have Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony, absolutely need a shooter-scorer, because the only one that they really can rely on is Terrence Ross, who comes off the bench. So I have Bouknight going 8 to the Magic, but only if guys pass on it. So from a value standpoint, do you want to go plus 195 on that? Sure, take a stab. But I think Bouknight's a top 10 pick for sure.
That'd be pretty good money, right? Right, Tony? Like
Yes.
plus 195 to be right on that. It sounds like a pretty good bet to me.
Agreed.
But what's the position, though? He's just got to guess where Bouknight. It says, where is James Bouknight going in the draft?
Yeah, but in his second question was...
Yeah, his second part of it was this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Hey, Tone, why the sudden climb? And I'm a UConn guy. I grew up in Connecticut. That's my program. And Bouknight, obviously, if not for injury, maybe he would be in the top 4 because of the offensive talent that he brings to the floor. I mean, he had that one game this year where he scored 40 against Georgetown. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but he spent a lot of time hurt at UConn rather than on the floor. But when he's on the floor, you see his scoring talent, his shooting talent. And, again, the NBA, Tony Finn, pace and space, you got to shoot the basketball, and he's one guy who can. But I do see him almost universally now considered 6th overall when he really wasn't in that picture 7 days ago. 6.
He I believe, helped himself really a ton in individual workouts and in the combine, and we've talked about it. I mean, you hit on it. Like, scoring wise, this draft has a lot of great athletes. This draft has a lot of guys with a tremendous ceiling. This draft does not have a lot of guys who you can say that's a proven scorer. Cameron Thomas from LSU, that's why he might go, top 20, where people say, all right, well, his defense is atrocious, but that guy can score immediately. And I think Bouknight's in the area where he was the focal point of every defense, and he still, elevated UConn when he was out there. And in the NBA, he probably projects as a 6th man early, or a super sub type guy off the bench, maybe a Jordan Clarkson. And you know what you can expect from him. I think that's why.
I like it. I like that bet quite a bit. I guess the other thing you mentioned in your article, Tony, that I was gazing at, that I have there at the bottom of our screen that's scrolling on your Gaming Today article,
All right.
was that his
a lot of my secrets are in there, but that's fine. That's why I didn't mention it. But that's fine.
Yeah, a little shout out of sorts, I
You
guess.
wrote
But
it.
I did write it.
yeah, I don't think Gaming Today wrote it. I think he sounds like a real guy. But anyway, it sounds like those pro days was what really got the attention of a lot of teams. I forget what teams they were, but you would know, and that's why I guess the stock is rising.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
and he's healthy. You know, he's healthy now.
That's
So
the key. That's the key.
yep.
What
Hey,
is there?
here's my quick, because Tony, here's the part, guys, that I can't stand about the NBA draft, and I'm not a GM, so that's probably why I can't stand it, because GMs should consider it. But when they consider a guy 22 and he's got to fall, well, not when they consider when a guy is 22, and for that reason, we got to think twice, three times. 22-year-old, we'd rather take a green 18-year-old than a 22-year-old. To me, I took a shot with this today. Davion Mitchell at plus price to go in the top 10. And I understand the whole reasoning why he could fall from 7 to 13, because there's not a huge need for point guards after 7, right? So maybe he falls just due to the position he plays. But if anybody raised his stock and if anybody proved that he can shoot the 3 and play hard-nosed defense out on the perimeter, it's Davion Mitchell, that whole ball of wax, whether he's 22 or not. And I'm going to take the shot that somebody else sees it that way inside the top 10, and whether they have a point guard or not, they go ahead. Orlando kind of sits in that key spot, right? Because they probably won't take him, having Cole Anthony, and they're filled at the point guard position. But I hope that somewhere along the line the kid from Baylor goes, because to me, as they come out, this goes back to Jesse's point, coming out today as rookies, I think Davion Mitchell is going to be one of the better rookies first year out of this whole class, just because he seems like plug and play. Coaches love to play defensive guys, and they love to play guys that can shoot the basketball as well. And his three-point percentage went way up over 40% this year. And what he showed against Gonzaga in the championship game was, pretty. I can't believe Corey Kispert's still as high as he is after that showing, but he is where he is. I like Davion Mitchell plus price to go in the top 10.
One thing I'll do tomorrow, if I, when I have a little more time before our draft prep show, there was a workout. I don't think anybody's going to know because they probably keep it under wraps. There was a workout 3 or 4 days ago that had Davion Mitchell, Chris Duarte, who's going to be a potential lottery pick, Moses Moody, and Trey Murphy from Virginia in the same workout for the Golden State Warriors. So they got 7, they've got 14. They probably don't want to keep 7, but they probably do want to keep 14. And then one of those guys is going to be there for him. And Mitchell could slip. Mitchell could be one of those guys that at 9 or 10, somebody says, well, we know this guy's going to defend at least, and he's going to be the top on-ball defender in the draft. So let's just go ahead and take him. So Mitchell is somebody that I would not touch in terms of a draft over-under prop, because he could go either way.
Right, and that's the chance you take to take the plus price for sure. You guys just, and it's obvious when you look at the draft, there's not a real need at those positions as you fall closer to 10 and then out of 10. Point guard's not a necessity for a lot of those teams, so you're almost hoping for a trade-up. Somebody, below 10 that wants to come out and get him. But we'll see. That could be one of the better players first year in this draft.
Yeah, it's almost like you got to get hit over the head with this stuff. You see Mitchell, you see Jared Butler, and then you're like, we'll still pass. We'll go with somebody else who's more of a prospect with a higher ceiling. And I understand the ceiling part. Look, Davion Mitchell at Auburn, you would have never expected him to be at this position. He couldn't shoot. He shot like 29% from three-point range. And last year he shot 46. So is that because he had more help and guys had to pay attention to the other guards on his roster? Potentially, but he'll have more help in the NBA. And then it's a testament to the work he put in the gym. And that's one thing that Scott Drew said in the NBA Draft Combine show. No kid works harder than Davion Mitchell. So you're absolutely right. It just depends. He's not going to overwhelm you physically. So he's got to overwhelm you with his work ethic and what he's going to bring to the table on defense.
Ben Simmons, you hear that? Work ethic. Learn how to shoot the basketball.
It's true. There's nothing wrong with Ben Simmons' hands. It's not Shaq from the free throw line. You should have learned to shoot a 3 by now.
I didn't realize I had myself muted. What were you guys talking about?
Nothing.
Big Ben. Anyway, let's move into final picks. We can pick Major League Baseball. I'm going to be picking swimming. But why don't we start with Jesse and then Tony Finn and then myself, Tony Mejia, and Rob Veno bringing up the anchor to this 5-man ship. The floor is yours, Jesse. You can do any pick you want, or you can pass too. It's purely optional.
I'm going to go with the Dodgers tonight. I've had some rough beats with the Dodgers lately with Kenley Jansen, but I'm looking at the pitching matchup here, and you see that Walker Buehler's been on fire. He's pitched great against San Francisco. Desclafani on the other side has pitched great against everybody except for the Dodgers. The Dodgers have really hit him hard, and yeah, I think the price is right to take the Dodgers here as a small favorite in San Francisco, and just hope they can build a lead big enough that Jansen can't blow it for them.
I like it. You can't blow every game he's in, can he, Tony Finn? But don't answer that, because then I'm going to have to mute you, because we'll be on for another 45 minutes. Because those are your two favorite people to talk about.
Who?
Mr. Jansen and Mr. Dave Roberts.
They're not my two favorite. I have lots to say about them.
Favorite topics.
Topics. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, okay. All right. They suck.
I had Jesse on the one-on-one show today for sportsmemo.com, and I actually encouraged him. I will be accountable in a negative way, Tony Finn, that I encouraged Jesse to instigate you and say, Tony Finn, I understand you have a lot of knowledge about these two folks and the Dodgers team. Am I making the right bet on the Dodgers tonight? But
no, you're not.
Don't answer that.
No, I mean, who am I? Who am I to say what's right and wrong?
I threw myself under the bus.
Yeah, that's good job. Good job. Well, I'm surprised you're able to talk. The bus is pretty big.
I'm very clever. Very clever. So Tony Finn, you are the man right now for your free pick for the show.
Free pick for the show. I'm gonna do a Rob Veno special.
Nice.
And I'll go with one of my an option that's when it comes to if I'm in search for when I do my research and I do my initial review and there's a certain criteria, I look at umpires. I want to know every umpire that is slated to draw that home plate assignment. And then I have some software that allows me to also match up umpires with pitchers, et cetera, et cetera. So I use umpires extensive. I expand my handicapping of baseball to umpires more than a lot of that I know, and I use the tools that I have. Will Little behind the plate today at the top. And here's the deal. You got a couple pitchers who are, for the most part, they're not. This is not an AL East matchup that they're going to kick Big Brother to this, and they're going to show a taping of Big Brother. Well, I think they already do that, but they're not going to exit a live broadcast to show Tampa and New York tonight. Not with the pitching matchup. However, there's some advantages here. First off, Tampa's not the best, although they've improved. And Nelson Cruz helped. They're not great against. They haven't been great against left-handed pitchers, be it capable or good left-handers, or Tony Mejia throwing left-handed. They just can't hit them, and they haven't hit them very hard. Their exit velocity in those situations is pedestrian, maybe less than pedestrian. And for the Yankees. Listen, with the Yankees, they're going to score 3 or 4 runs. They're going to score tonight. They may only score 2. Last night they did what they had to do. They scored. Other than the late home run, they had 3 runs and they led the game. And that's what, when they pitch well, that's how they're going to win. So under 8.5, I thought was 8.5 speaks to Will Little. a little bit. Trust me when I tell you, it speaks to it a little bit. His K zone is large, it's wide, and he likes pitchers that work quickly. And for the most part, you're going to watch. If you watch this game, you're going to find out both of these pitchers don't dilly dally. And under 8.5 is my play tonight. AL East early matchup. New York Yankees, Tampa Bay Rays.
I love it, Tony Finn. That was awesome. Now my turn.
Okay.
The powers that be at Sports Memo wanted me to say that I'm on a 10-0 run in Major League Baseball, and I have a 3-pack going tonight for $19. And something along the lines that everybody watching this show has to go and buy it. So that's the best promotion I can do for myself.
That's not bad. How much you selling it for? $100?
$19.
19. Sold.
Let me cross
you get 3 4-unit plays.
Nice.
Nice.
But we've all been 10-0 and beyond, and the experience tells you that eventually the betting guys get tired of the winning ways and they humble you. So I'm trying to be as humble as possible so that when they do that, I won't get my face ripped off.
Yeah. I'll sign on some of my secondary and third daries and fourth dairy Twitters and do a couple drive-bys if you're gonna get you cocky. We'll get you. We'll keep you.
I've heard a lot about mental health in the last 2 days with sports, and I'm afraid that it applies to sports handicappers and professional bettors as well.
There's no question about that.
Yep. So I'm gonna sit out tomorrow then, I guess.
Okay. So what?
So you think Ben Simmons could take a day off for mental health? If anybody needs a day off for mental health, I thought of him right off the bat.
How about that, John?
Yeah, that would have been wise like a year ago for him.
One day is not near enough for me, so there is just I don't even worry about it because I need a hell of a lot more than one day.
Yeah, I was thinking of using it as an excuse that if I go 0-3 tonight, and obviously I'm kidding when I say this, then I can tomorrow announce to the world that I'm taking the day off for mental health day because things didn't go my way. Right?
I
mean, you wouldn't take a mental health day if you just went 3-0.
Well, no, you take a sick day because you're still hungover from the party you had going 3-0.
Hey, serious, I don't mean to make fun of mental health, the terminology, because it is a very serious thing. And I'm only saying this in good fun among us, just to make that point right now. So in the Olympics, we've been doing swimming here, and my bet tonight, and I'm anti-patriotic here. I'm not going with Caleb Dressel to win it in the 100-meter free, which is going to be a spectacular race. It's like the 100-meter dash in track and field. It's the fastest human on the planet is basically what it is. You could say the 50-meter is the sprint of all sprints, but the 50-meter has only become an Olympic event maybe 4 Olympics ago, whereas the 100 meters has been the standard forever. So trust me when I say that swimmers will say that the fastest human is the man or woman who wins the 100-meter free. That's what it is. And Caleb Dressel is minus 115, but this kid from Australia has caught my attention, Kyle Chalmers. He's 2-1. And how do I explain this with the breakdown? When you trained in swimming, they were showing Ledecky's total miles swum in her training career, and I think they grossly underestimated it. But nevertheless, she basically swam around the world and then some during her career. There's times that those long distance female swimmers, especially, because they are able to train a lot longer and a lot further than male swimmers are. And I'm not putting male swimmers down. It's just a fact that 30,000 meters in a day over 2 3-hour workouts, and maybe even 1 3-hour and then a 2-hour break and then a 4-hour session is what Ledecky has been doing for years, and everybody else that's in those 800 and 1,500 meter swims. So it's different with the sprinters. They don't go as much. They might go 10,000 meters a day during the core part. The point is that when you get within about 6 weeks of a major event, you taper down. And now all of a sudden, the body that has been, basically beaten up and beaten up and beaten up for months of hardcore training is now getting rest. And it's like an amazing feeling. And I've been through it where you suddenly get like a week away from the event and you're ready to just eat steel. You just wound up and you're ready to go. And that's what the taper does. And that's why you see some of these swimmers lower their times by multiple seconds from their personal best. And this Kyle Chalmers guy, the progression that he is on here in the preliminaries and then the semifinals, I would love to see Dressel win it. I'm not anti him, but this kid's going to give Dressel every bit of a fight for that gold medal. And that goes tonight at 10:37 Eastern Standard Time. So that is my free pick of the day.
Okay. Did he disappear?
Yeah, listen, we'll hurry and turn the Olympics off. I don't have time for the damn Olympics.
You know what? I'm stuck in the loop. I actually wanted to am I supposed to wait for John Ryan to talk swimming? Because I actually had a genuine swimming question for him.
You just asked.
There he is,
right there.
All right. Hey, so the most impressive male swimmer I've seen is this Kalashnikov kid from Russia, but he's not in this race tonight, right?
That is correct. No, he is. He's
that's what I would take.
He's plus 200 as well, and that's a great point. And they're both on a similar pattern.
He looked impressive, and I saw him in the prelims, and then the other race that he beat whoever was supposed to win. He looks impressive. Not that I'll defer to you on swimming knowledge, though. Obviously,
I'll tell you what's wild about is these 100 meters sprints, and I saw one world record live in all of my years, and it was incredible. And it was actually in 1980 when we boycotted the Olympics. South Africa wasn't there. It was actually 1976. South Africa was banned from the Olympics. So it was the U.S. Summer Nationals, which was right after the Olympics. So all the U.S. swimmers, were tired from the Olympics. You can't go back to back like that very well. But a guy named Jonty Skinner from South Africa broke the world record in a pool. And Tony Finn will love this name, Kelly Pool in Philadelphia, Rob Veno, in a absolute dungeon of a swimming pool to hold a national championship. And this kid came in from South Africa and torched the world record in a very slow pool. So I remember that. But the point is that if you were sitting poolside, and you can see a little bit of it from their cameras, but if you were sitting poolside, when these guys come down that first lap, there's a wave of about 1.5 feet in front of them that they create because of the power and the speed. And it's really something to see. I mean, it's crazy.
That's what those high tech buoys are for. They that's some serious stuff right there. Those high tech plastic floaties.
I'm sure
they are scientifically designed.
I'm sure these Olympic arenas are tremendous for swimming, but just to piggyback on your point about a dungeon in Philly. Just to show, and that I paid my dues in at least in the sports writing business. I remember doing agate for swimming here in Orlando, and it was sweltering, hot, humid, gross. A bunch of kids, teenagers, swimming, their parents around in easily breaking fire code rules and capacity. It's probably the grossest environment I've ever been in. So yeah, swimming pools not fun, but I'm sure they do a good job in the Olympics and spacing them out, especially with no fans out there in Japan.
Yeah, those natatoriums can get very unhealthy. Yeah, it's just a miserable environment for parents and fans to sit. But in an arena that is as big as the Tokyo one is, the airflow is done the right way, so you can sit comfortably in the stands, and there might be a temperature difference of as many as 10 degrees between the stands and actually being around the pool. Right. And another thing I bet you guys didn't know, and then we'll go to Tony Mejia. Did you ever notice there's no false starts?
Yeah, there haven't been any.
There are. There are false starts.
I haven't seen any in these.
Well, not these, but I've seen false starts.
Oh yeah, I mean there used to be a ton of
field.
them.
You have them all the time. right? Well, if you false start in swimming, you're disqualified. There's no second chance.
But there have been false starts, but I haven't seen any in these Olympics.
Well, I haven't watched any, so I haven't either.
Right, because the rule has been now for several years. You false start, and it's not because of the official's error. You're done. You are DQ'd.
Did you notice that they changed the on your marks treble? Like it's a lot different now. It's
and
high tech.
The announcers have been a little critical of the official that does the start because it's difficult knowing that you can't have a guy false start or a woman false start because of the event. If it's a he or a she.
Yeah, you wouldn't have false starts, guys. You wouldn't have false starts. Here's what you do. None of this on your set. Ready? You say go. It's here. This is it. Go. That's it. Go. You got no false starts.
Go. Whoever didn't hear it on time, screwed.
Go.
Go.
Well, you can do like skiing, and wherever your feet leave the block, your clock for your lane starts.
Yeah. Yeah, well, but then that's no. Then people would say, "Hold it." I want that. No, that didn't work.
Oh, and lastly, before the Australian women 800-meter free relay will crush the world record tonight.
I am going to be
so happy. There was odds of me to bet that. That will be the lock of the Olympics.
These Olympics are over.
Because I have seen the Aussie women have destroyed everybody. Like what's the number on that? I'm not betting swimming, but still.
Oh, I don't know what the odds are for a world record on that event.
No, world record. Just what as far as them being favored.
Oh, it's got to be 10-1.
Oh, really?
Look it up quick.
All right. Well, I'll start by saying the minus bet is going to be. Oh, you got it?
I do. I did have it. Come on. Here we are. Women. We got 200-meter. But here it is. 4x200-meter relay. 10-1 is Australia. But USA is plus 500. So if one of those girls false starts, which they won't, that seems stupid to say. I scratch that. That's not going to happen.
Just go.
They'll have the. Let's go to Tony Finn.
Go.
Or not Tony Finn. Tony Mejia. Anthony.
My best bet's going to be Kalashnikov because I'm going to be anti-American with my swimming 100 too. So give me Kalashnikov at minus 200. I also want to back up Jesse, but I'm going first five. And WagerTalk just tweeted out my first five pick for today, so it's on that feed, and I just retweeted it. And I'm going first five with the same rationale that Jesse used. Walker Buehler against Anthony DeSclafani. Looks like a mismatch. DeSclafani's given up 18 runs in 18 in the third innings to LA this year. He's given up 6 homers. He's given up 3 homers since the All-Star break. Tip my hat to him because he's had a great year and he's been great at home. But I'll take the Dodgers laying a half a run for plus money all day long. And then since that's not fair because he went first and that's his pick, I will actually muse on something. Did you guys see that Japan Slovenia? The total started plus 177.5. This is men's basketball in the Olympics. Argentina Spain 161.5. We now see that the number is about 166 for Argentina Spain and 183. So both have gone up about 5 points. And the reason for that, I believe, is that 117, 118, 100 game that Luka Doncic and his 48 points brought for Slovenia against Argentina in that Olympic opener. So I think people are overreacting to that. So I'm actually going to play the under in Japan-Slovenia because they had 2 14-point scoring quarters, the Japanese, against Spain. And if Luka goes Luka, then the game will be over. It's a 20-point spread. The game will be over in the fourth, and we won't see a 60-point quarter like we got in Argentina and Slovenia. So give me the under in Japan, Slovenia. And I do think that the steam is correct in Argentina, Spain. 161.5 seems too low. It's the battle of Facundo Campazzo against Ricky Rubio. So give me the over in Argentina, Spain, Give me the under in Japan, Slovenia. Give me Kalashnikov to win the 100, and give me the first 5, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I already like
Well
your
done,
pick better
Tony
than mine,
Mejia.
Tony.
Yeah, it takes Kenley Jansen out of the equation, brother.
Yeah.
Rob Veno,
Jimmy
our
Jensen.
anchor.
So much to say after listening to these 4 guys talk. But I'm writing here as everybody speaks, so I'll start right here. To Jesse and to Tony. I could absolutely support that play as well. Walker Buehler, 1.38 ERA career against the San Francisco Giants. And this matchup just happened last week, and it set Tony Finn off into another tailspin. But this is the game where Walker Buehler pitched his brains out 5 days ago. And Kenley Jansen came in the 9th and gave up 4 runs and lost the game 5-3. So keeping them out of the equation. Blake Trinan wasn't even any good last night, guys. Blake Trinan, he gave up the game last night. So it's been tough for the Dodger bullpen all around. But LA 5-inning sounds really, really good. And I wouldn't even stop there. I think full game they'll get it done tonight against DeSclafani. Tone, to that point about Slovenia's totals going up. Now, I started blindly way back in the qualifiers, these Euro qualifiers, betting Slovenia over. And the increase in total since the first game that I bet, their first game in that qualifying tournament, I think was in the 150s, like 156. And I watched the game because it was live streamed, and I saw that offense, and they're up and down the floor. And they all love Luka over there. It's an amazing camaraderie with that team. They go way over, bet them again over. They go way over. Number gets raised, bet them over. They go over. They just continue to go over, as did the Czech Republic. I had them again last night, and they went over. So certain teams here. But the increase, to your point, you're talking about how they're moving the number up. It's gone now from, like I say, the first game I bet was in the mid-150s. Now it's 183. So obviously there's been stuff. The odds makers have seen enough of Slovenia and Luka Doncic and their all-offense and, questionable defense, to be sure, to put it up this high. We'll see if they can get it up and over against Japan. But the numbers certainly, that's about almost a 30-point increase. My eyes keep going up to the monitor because Jace Tingler and the Padres, boy, they made Blake Snell wear one for 4 innings today. He got slammed again. We talked earlier about Max Scherzer going somewhere in the West. Blake Snell has been an absolute bust so far this season for this team. Now, if he pitches well August, September, and into the playoffs, it'll all be forgotten. But I don't know. He can't seem to straighten out here. He got hammered by Oakland in 4 innings here. Tony Finn, we want to credit you, pal, because you speak and the Houston Astros listen. You talk, they go out and get Kendall Graveman. You talk, and they go out and get Yimi Garcia today. 2 closers within 24 hours. So stay in the Houston. Stay in their ear. They need you.
That's all. Well, that's all they need. Truthfully, guys, if they can get production from their young pitching staff that get the same production they've gotten this year, then they're the AL's best. Bring it on. That's all I have to say.
Only baseball game I touched the other night was that late Mariners Astros game, 7-0. I take a nap. I mean, I'm seriously, I take a nap.
Yep.
And because I'm up to watch the Olympics again, and I check my phone, I get my WagerTalk plays graded thing. Look, I said loss.
I know.
And I looked for details, and I found details. So screw that. And yeah, and the whole analytics, John. I know your heart's in the right place, but relief pitching is the worst, and I can't stand it. No matter whether the numbers bear out that it's actually not been as bad as it has looked. But,
it's been worse. It's been worse. One of the worst years in the last 10.
Since
last year was
worse.
Last year was worse.
And then, I mean, if you like bad bullpens, just start watching the KBO.
Listen, here's my deal.
That makes
on
Jensen
all that.
look like Cy Young.
Here's my deal on all of that. If we can sit here and complain, or we know we're speaking as or like we know. So if we know what we know, then it's just a variable. All you have to do is focus on that, and that's where you invest. Tonight we're going to invest in what bad bullpen, and what I mean is which bad bullpen we're going to fade. That's all we're going to do all summer. Just fade bad bullpens.
Yeah, in game definitely. I saw somebody wanting to fade. I guess Washington got up 5-1. They're like, all right, well, go with Philly, and they almost blew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing the Phillies, and Matt, mid-major Matt, is huge on that. Where the Phillies are concerned, if the Phillies have a lead in any game, and you could follow his Twitter feed all night long and laugh your ass off all night long. But he found a middle in a game last week where the Phillies went up by 3, and he took a plus 3.5 in game, and the other team came back and tied and went ahead, and then he went the other way back again with Philly at plus price and won both bets.
Nice,
so he's been playing that angle on the Phillies all season long. If the Phillies get a lead of 2 or more, immediately bet the other team in game because they're going to catch up against Philadelphia. So we'll see. Yeah. Tony's knocking on my door. You're underneath me, dude. All right, let's get to best bets. I'm torn here because I used one on WagerTalk today, but I'm going to throw that aside here on the desk and go ahead and give you something that I like even better. John, Machine Gun Kelly, Vegas, Ryan. I played the Phillies tonight. And you talk about investing in bad bullpens. I played the Phillies full game run line, so I'm investing in a bad bullpen here tonight. Now, that bad bullpen got rested yesterday, and then the ultra scrubs in that bullpen came out and threw 4 scoreless innings against the Nationals last night, which is really a kick in the ass if you wanted to take the over 10.5 in that game, and you got a 6-4.
Hell, they may not even need the bullpen tonight. Bullpen may not even show up.
I've got Philly, 80% of this handicap, guys, was done in 15 seconds because I'm just fading the Washington lineup without Trey Turner.
Yeah.
Now on the COVID list. It's bad enough they were without Schwarber to begin with. And then the second factor to the Washington lineup is this is not a lefty. This is Zach Wheeler, a righty. Washington's number 1 Major League Baseball OPS against lefties, but against righties, that number drops dramatically. Without Trey Turner, any number drops dramatically. You're talking about a lineup now with basically Juan Soto and a bunch of other guys. So for Wheeler, who's been tremendous all season long and snapped out of his funk, right? He had 2 bad games in a row, and then last game he came back to being Zach Wheeler again. I just don't see any way he doesn't pitch well in this contest, and the Philly bats have been live for a while now. So give me Philadelphia and their horrendous bullpen. I'll bet into it. Minus 1.5. They were plus $1 when I made the bet. I think they're up to they climbed to 105, and now I don't know. Somebody would have to inform me as to what they are right now. But the line was climbing since 8:30 a.m. Eastern time this morning. But I like the Phillies run line here. It's still going to be a short price. Go ahead and lay it. Zach Wheeler has to pitch. Don't go up and play action. Make sure you get Wheeler at least. And we'll fade that Washington lineup without Trey Turner. I think you're going to see a real descent in run scoring out of the Nationals over the course of the next 10 days while he's out.
Wheeler's got to give you 8. I think I saw the lane 1.5 at minus 115 now.
Here it goes.
Well, this is I'll do this as our finishing thought because Rob and I did not talk about the Phillies today, but the MLB angle of the day is on Philly.
Oh, look at that run line and all.
Look at that.
All right.
40% ROI, $100 better makes $57.10. Bet the Phillies using the minus 1.5 run line.
Nationals team morale can't be very good either.
No, because they know it's a sell-off. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep, it's done. Season's over. Well, gentlemen, thanks for your time. I'm going to see most of you tomorrow, and we'll talk definitely more NBA draft. I'm sure there'll be more news in the Major League Baseball trading deadline approaching. We'll be within about 22 hours. Actually, when we start, we'll be 24 hours from the deadline. Perfect. So hopefully there'll be some definitive trades being done by some of these teams, and we'll have a lot to talk about. So on behalf of Jesse Schul, Tony Finn, Rob Veno, Tony Mejia, myself, WagerTalk.com, SourceMemo.com, and the Predictive Playbook, thanks for listening, and may all the wins be yours.